Nobody stays rich by making money. They stay rich by never spending it. That is the sentence that breaks most people's brains when they first hear it, because we are conditioned to think that wealth comes from earning more, saving harder, investing smarter. But the truly wealthy operate on a completely different system. They do not touch their money at all. They live on loans. And before you think this sounds like some reckless debt spiral, understand this. The rich use debt as a tool to avoid taxes, preserve capital, and compound wealth faster than any salary or investment return could ever deliver. Meanwhile, the average person is out here cashing out investments, paying capital gains taxes, and wondering why their net worth is not growing. The system is not broken. You just were not taught the rules. Here is the uncomfortable truth. If you sell an asset to fund your lifestyle, you are not wealthy. You are liquidating. Wealthy people never sell. They borrow against what they own, live off the loan, and let the asset keep growing tax-free in the background. And when they die, the whole thing resets under something called a step-up in basis, which means their heirs inherit everything at current market value and nobody ever pays the tax. It is not a loophole. It is the designed architecture of the tax code, and if you do not understand how this works, you are playing a game where the scoreboard is hidden and the rules are written in a language you were never taught. Most people hereby borrow, die, and think it is some complex Wall Street strategy reserved for billionaires. It is not. It is a framework, and once you see it, you realize the entire financial system is built to reward people who own appreciating assets and punish people who rely on earned income. The person making $500,000 a year as a doctor pays more in taxes than the person with $5 million in stock who borrows $200,000 against it to live. Same lifestyle, completely different tax bill. One person is working inside the system, the other person owns the system. So here is what we are doing in this video. I am going to show you exactly how the buy, borrow, die strategy works, why it is legal, why it is so effective, and why most people will never use it. Not because they cannot, but because they are still thinking like earners instead of owners. We are going to break down the 3 steps, the math behind each one, the types of assets this works with, and the minimum threshold where this strategy actually starts to make sense. Plus, I am going to show you the one mistake people make when they try to copy this without enough capital, and why that mistake can actually destroy wealth faster than doing nothing at all. Let me start with a framework. It is called buy, borrow, die, 3 words, 3 steps, and it is the closest thing to a cheat code that exists in personal finance. Step 1 is buy. You acquire assets that appreciate over time. Step 2 is borrow. You take out loans using those assets as collateral and live off the borrowed money. Step 3 is die. When you pass away, your heirs inherit the assets at a stepped-up basis, which erases all the taxable gains, and the loan either gets paid off from the estate or refinanced. The result is decades of tax-free living and generational wealth that never gets touched by the IRS. Now, most people try to build wealth by earning, saving, and investing. And that works, but it is slow, because every time you earn money, the government takes a cut. Every time you sell an investment, the government takes a cut. Every time you withdraw from your portfolio to pay for life, you are shrinking the thing that is supposed to be growing. You are constantly bleeding capital to taxes and lifestyle. The wealthy do not do that. They let their assets grow untouched, borrow against them at low interest rates, and only pay tax on the loan interest, which is often deductible. The asset keeps compounding. The loan is cheap, and the tax bill is zero. Here's the part most people miss. This is not about avoiding taxes illegally. This is about structuring your finances so that taxable events never happen. Taxes are triggered by selling. If you never sell, you never trigger the tax. Instead, you borrow, and borrowed money is not income. It is a liability. The IRS does not tax liabilities, so you can pull $100,000 out of your portfolio without reporting a single dollar of income, as long as you are borrowing it instead of selling it. That is the entire game. Let me show you what this looks like with real numbers. Say you own $1 million in stock that you bought for $200,000. If you sell it, you owe capital gains tax on $800,000 of profit. At a 20% federal rate, that is $160,000 gone immediately. But if you borrow against it instead, most brokers will lend you up to 50% of the value. That is $500,000 in liquidity with 0 taxes owed. You pay interest on the loan, sure, but if the interest rate is 4% and your portfolio is growing at 8%, you are still net positive. The asset is outpacing the cost of the loan, and you are living tax-free. Now, I know what you are thinking. What happens when the loan comes due? Here's the thing. These loans do not come due the way a car loan does. They are securities-backed lines of credit. You can keep them open indefinitely as long as the collateral stays above a certain threshold. And if you need to pay down the balance, you just borrow more from another asset or let dividends and interest cover the payments. The system is designed to be evergreen. You are not paying off the loan, you are managing it. And here is where it gets even better. When you die, the step-up in basis kicks in. Let us say you bought that stock at $200,000 and it is worth $3 million when you pass. Under current tax law, your heirs inherit it at the $3 million valuation. The $2.8 million in gains vanishes for tax purposes. If they sell it the next day, they owe 0 capital gains because their cost basis is $3 million. The slate is wiped clean. The loan gets settled from the estate, and the rest transfers tax-free. This is not a glitch. This is how generational wealth is preserved. But here is the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to hear. This strategy only works if you have enough assets to borrow against in the first place. If you have got $50,000 in a brokerage account, this does not apply to you yet. You are not going to get a meaningful loan, and the interest cost will eat you alive relative to your returns. The minimum threshold where this starts making sense is around $500,000 to $1 million in investable assets. Below that, you are better off just building. Above that, you start thinking like an owner instead of an earner. And this is the trap. Most people hear about buy, borrow, die and try to force it too early. They take out margin loans on small accounts, get hit with interest they cannot afford, panic when the market dips, and get margin called into selling at the worst possible time. They are trying to use a wealth preservation tool as a wealth creation tool. It does not work that way. You build first, then you borrow. The order matters. So let me break down each step in detail, because the framework is simple, but the execution has nuance. Step 1 is by you acquire appreciating assets. The key word here is appreciating. This does not work with cars, watches, or designer furniture. Those depreciate. You need assets that grow in value over time and can be used as collateral. The best candidates are stocks, index funds, real estate, and business equity. Stocks and index funds are liquid and easy to borrow against. Real estate appreciates and generates rental income, which can cover loan payments. Business equity can be used for lines of credit if the business is profitable and stable. The point is, you are not buying things. You are buying ownership in things that produce value or increase in value independent of your labor. And here is the golden rule. The asset has to grow faster than the cost of borrowing against it. If your portfolio is growing at 7% per year and your loan costs 5%, you are net positive 2% while living off the borrowed capital. That spread is what makes the whole system work. If the asset is flat or declining, you are just accumulating debt with no upside. That is not strategy. That is gambling. Now, most people skip straight to step 2 without finishing step 1. They want the lifestyle now. They want to borrow and live like the rich before they have built anything to borrow against. And that is where it falls apart. Because borrowing without appreciating collateral is just consumer debt with extra steps. You are not leveraging wealth. You are faking it. And the market will eventually expose that. Step 2 is borrow. Once you have significant assets, you borrow against them instead of selling them. The most common vehicle for this is a securities-backed line of credit, also called a pledged asset line. You pledge your stocks or bonds as collateral, and the lender gives you access to cash, usually up to 50 to 70% of the account value depending on the assets. The interest rates are low because the loan is secured. You are not asking for credit based on your income. You are borrowing against wealth you already own. That makes you low risk in the eyes of the bank. Here's why this is powerful. Let us say you need $100,000 for living expenses, a down payment, or a business investment. If you sell $100,000 worth of stock, you pay capital gains tax. Let us call it $20,000, so you net $80,000 and your portfolio shrinks by $100,000. But if you borrow that $100,000, your portfolio stays intact, keeps growing, and you owe zero taxes. You pay interest, maybe $4,000 a year at 4%, but your portfolio is still compounding on the full balance. Over time, the growth outpaces the interest cost, and you have liquidity without shrinking your net worth. The wealthy do this constantly. They do not sell stock to buy a house. They borrow against their portfolio and buy the house with cash, which often gets them a better deal and avoids capital gains. They do not cash out equity to fund their lifestyle. They open a line of credit and let the business keep growing. It is the same consumption, completely different financial structure. And that structure is what keeps them wealthy. But here is the catch. This only works in up markets or stable markets. If the value of your collateral drops significantly, you can get a margin call, which means the lender asks you to either add more collateral or pay down the loan. If you cannot do either, they liquidate your assets to cover the balance. And that can happen at the worst possible time, right when the market is down and you are locking in losses. This is why you never borrow up to the maximum. You leave a cushion. If the lender will give you 70%, you borrow 40 or 50. That buffer protects you from forced selling during volatility. And here is another nuance most people miss. The interest on these loans is often tax deductible if the borrowed money is used for investment purposes. So if you take out a loan against your portfolio and use that cash to buy rental property or invest in a business, the interest becomes a deduction. You are borrowing at 4%, deducting the interest, and deploying the capital into something that generates income or appreciates. The system is designed to reward this behavior. Step 3 is die. And I know that sounds morbid, but this is where the strategy pays off generationally. Under current US tax law, when you die, your heirs inherit your assets at a stepped-up basis. That means the cost basis resets to the fair market value on the date of your death. All the unrealized gains, everything the asset appreciated during your lifetime, disappears for tax purposes. If you bought stock at $10 and it is worth $1,000 when you die, your heirs inherit it at $1,000. If they sell it immediately, they owe zero capital gains tax. The government never collected on those gains, ever. Now, what happens to the loan? The loan is a liability of the estate. It gets paid off before assets are distributed to heirs. But here is the key. The estate sells just enough to cover the loan, and because of the step-up in basis, that sale is tax-free. So the loan gets settled, the remaining assets transfer to the next generation, and nobody pays capital gains. The wealth moves forward completely intact. This is how generational wealth works. You do not spend the principal. You borrow against it, live off the debt, let the assets grow, and pass everything down with a clean slate. Your kids inherit more than you started with, and the cycle repeats. That is the system, and it has been the system for decades. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Is this fair? No, it is not fair. It is absolutely a system that benefits people who already have capital and punishes people who are still building. Someone working a job and saving 10% of their paycheck is paying income tax, payroll tax, and sales tax on everything they do. Meanwhile, someone with 10 million in assets borrows 500,000 tax-free, lives comfortably, and their estate pays nothing when they die. Same country, same tax code, completely different outcomes. But here is the thing. Fair or not, this is the game, and you can either complain about the rules or learn them and use them when you get to the level where they apply. The tax code is not going to change because you are mad about it. It is written by people who benefit from it. Your job is to build enough wealth that you can access the same strategies, and that means step one comes first. You have to buy the assets before you can borrow against them. So here is what this means in practice. If you are still in the building phase, your job is simple. Acquire appreciating assets, max out tax-advantaged accounts, build a taxable brokerage account, buy real estate if the numbers make sense. Get equity in a business if you can. The goal is ownership, because ownership is what unlocks leverage, and leverage is what unlocks tax-free living. If you are at the stage where you have 500,000 or more in investable assets, start learning how securities-backed lines of credit work. Talk to your broker, understand the terms, know what interest rates look like, figure out how much cushion you need to avoid margin calls. Do not borrow the maximum. Borrow conservatively and use the capital strategically. Pay down high-interest debt, invest in cash-flowing assets, fund a business, but do not use it to inflate your lifestyle beyond what your actual wealth supports. That is the trap. If you already have a few million and you are thinking about estate planning, this is whereby borrow, die becomes central. Work with a tax advisor and an estate attorney. Structure your assets so they pass efficiently. Use trusts if it makes sense. Understand how the step-up in basis works and make sure your heirs know the plan. The strategy only works if it is executed properly. If your estate is a mess, the tax benefits evaporate. And here is the honest pushback. This strategy assumes the tax code stays the same, and it might not. There have been proposals to eliminate the step-up in basis. There have been talks about taxing unrealized gains for high net worth individuals. If those changes happen, the buy, borrow, die model breaks, or at least, it gets way less efficient. So you cannot just assume this works forever. You have to stay informed and adapt. But as of right now, in 2025, this is the clearest path to preserving and transferring wealth without getting destroyed by taxes. And the people who understand this are the ones building legacies. The people who do not are paying 40 to 50% of everything they make to the government and wondering why it feels like they are running in place. So here is your next step. Look at where you are right now and be brutally honest. Do you own appreciating assets? Do you have a portfolio large enough to borrow against? Or are you still in the accumulation phase? If you are still building, your focus should be on step 1. Buy assets. Increase your income. Reduce expenses. Build surplus. Get to the point where borrowing makes sense. Do not force step 2 early. You will just burn capital on interest and get nothing in return. If you have crossed the threshold where this strategy applies, start small. Open a securities-backed line of credit. Borrow a manageable amount. See how it feels. Use the borrowed capital for something productive, not consumption. Pay attention to how your collateral fluctuates and how that impacts your borrowing capacity. Build confidence in the system before you go all in. And if you are already doing this, the question is whether you are doing it efficiently. Are you leaving too much cash sitting idle when you could be borrowing at low rates? Are you selling assets unnecessarily and triggering taxes you could avoid? Are you thinking about how this transfers to the next generation? Or are you just optimizing for yourself? The strategy scales, but only if you think in decades, not years. Understanding buy borrow die is not about gaming the system. It is about seeing the system clearly and positioning yourself to benefit from it the way it was designed. The tax code rewards ownership. It punishes earned income. And the faster you shift from earner to owner, the faster you unlock tools that most people do not even know exist. Obviously, I am not a financial advisor, and you should do your own research and talk to professionals about your specific situation. This is just how the wealthiest people in the world structure their finances, and now you know why. So here is what I want you to do. Look at your current net worth and comment the number of the step you are on right now. 1. If you are still building and acquiring assets. 2. If you have assets and you are starting to think about leverage. 3. If you are already using this strategy or planning your estate around it. Drop the number below. I want to see where most people actually are. because that tells me what video to make next. If this breakdown gave you a completely different way of thinking about wealth and taxes, hit the like button so more people can see it. Subscribe if you want more frameworks like this that actually explain how money works at the top, and I will see you in the next one.